Welcome in, everybody. It is 6 p.m. Sunday, May 15th. I am Dave. Jim is there. And this is Doorway to the Dead. And tonight, we're going to talk about a few things. First, we're going to talk about an investigation that we had scheduled and that I wasn't able to attend because it was on Mother's Day weekend. But Jim and our friends Pam and Steve and Jenny and Bob had gone and investigated a place called the Fainting Goat Island Inn. In what town in New York is that in? It's in New York.
Yeah, it's just over the PA line. It's a simple one-word name. God, I can't, for some reason, I can't ever, hold on, I'm going to dig it up.
And apparently they got some great things going on there. So much so that they're going to be having I believe it's like a medium holistic type of fair up there. And we're going to assist them with that and be up there. Hello, Laura. Hello, Holly. Birds. And Nichols, New York. Okay. And then also, we did have an event this weekend at the Hoover House with our friend and famed pet psychic Rob Guttrow. And that was pretty intense. So we'll talk about those things. And then our teammate Janet Jones is going to get a hold of us and join in and talk about a picture that she has some questions on. So,
yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah. So starting off with last weekend, there's in Nichols, New York. It's just over the Pennsylvania line in New York. And for us, I guess about 2.5, 3 hours from Waynesboro. And anyhow, it's an old inn. It's called the Fainting Goat Island Inn. And this building, pretty good sized building. I think they've got about 7 rooms for rent. It was built in the 1830s. And over the years, Nichols was a big railroad hub in its time. And as a matter of fact, there's one of the old railroad stations there that our good friend Jim Houston was really drawn to. You know, it's sort of restored in that. And I don't know if they have it at a museum or whatever, but he was dying to get in there. He had the energy speaking to him. But this inn is right on the banks of the Susquehanna River. Now in New York, in Pennsylvania, it's a pretty extensive river in terms of length and width. It's not that deep. I think the average depth is only about 12, 13 feet. But it has a number of islands throughout the river as well. And up in New York, it becomes more like a very large creek, but it still has these islands. So we were picking up a number of energies outside. There were the energies of 2 young boys who had drowned. It's a swimming hole, obviously, being on the river. So we picked up on the energies of 2 young boys that had drowned there in the river. And in talking to the owners are really nice people, and they had quite a collaborative history of things going on, and they have these journals that people have written in. The place has been sponsored on Travel Channel and various paranormal groups, and is indeed quite active. The island right in back of it in the river also has a lot of energies. The Indians held it in some kind of high regard on a spiritual basis. We don't know if they did burials there or special rites, but that was present. There was a case about 8 years ago where a prisoner got out of jail, was not was pretty much destroyed mentally, wound up jumping off a nearby bridge, which pretty much critically injured him. He swam over to the island, took off his clothes, climbed to the base of a tree on the island, and died. And that's where they found him. His spirit was still there. These fainting goats, it's a breed of goat that literally they faint. Various things come up and cause them to be skittish and drop over. And even though they're sort of like paralyzed physically from the fainting, they're alert. So, for instance, if a wild animal was there to pursue them and they fainted over, they would still be awake while they're getting devoured. So that's not really cool. But none of them fainted for us. We had our group, and we met a number of other investigators up there. Friday night, there was so much going on in my room and over in Bob's room that neither him or I got any sleep that night. The inn at some point was a traveler's lodging location, and it had ladies plying the trade for the night there. And I had a pretty aggressive young lady, around 22 years old, who gave me the story that she had 1 or 2 children at home. That's why she was there soliciting, I guess, to make ends meet. And she was very forward in what she was commenting. And anyhow, amidst all this, when I made it clear I wasn't interested in pursuing that angle, then she sort of split off of me and was jumping on board with Bob. So there was a lot going on, different levels, but it's a really neat place. We are planning on going back in the fall, and Pam and Steve are going to help the owners host some kind of psychic fair. There's a modern casino about 2 miles from the location, Tioga Downs, and we're going to get rooms at the casino so we can sleep next time. But that was a really neat experience for my brother-in-law, Bob. He's really coming into his sensitivities and awareness, and this was all a new experience for him, being so set upon by the spirits. He had a ghost cat coming up his leg. He had his covers pulled. And you could go through these books, journals that they had, and see that a lot of what we experienced or picked up on was consistent with what other people had done as well. So Janet's on. Good. Okay, so we've got our friend Janet on. So we're going to go ahead and bring Janet on, and we'll discuss a little bit about Rob and the pet psychic throughout the night as well.
Hello, Janet.
There she is.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Excellent.
So I decided to sit. Did you get a chance to look at that picture, Jim?
Yep, and Dave downloaded it over on his computer and was looking at it.
Let's see if I can
He's going to see if he can bring that up.
add an overlay here.
Yeah, I decided to sit on the couch where that.
Now, at the time, it was just you and your friend, right, in the house?
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, and here's the picture.
So he's going to pump the picture up here. So Janet sent me over 2 pictures. The first one shows your friend sitting in the couch, and if you'll notice behind her, that's a TV set, Janet.
It's a mirror.
It's
No,
a mirror.
That's
It's
a
the mirror
mirror.
in back of you, right?
That's a mirror, yeah.
Okay. So in the first picture, there's nothing in the mirror. The mirror is just clear. There's no image of that in the mirror. And in the next picture she took, she has what Dave's showing you now up in the mirror. And I can see why you got a variety of comments as to what people are saying. I noticed when he blew it up and I blew it up in my phone, I could see a face in there too.
Yeah, a face down in the lower.
Yeah, I could
Ed.
see that when I blew it up.
And
So he was just wondering, were you in the same position when you took the picture, so that the picture with nothing in the mirror,
Was from the same angle
were
as
you at the
this one?
same angle and
Yeah.
everything?
I was sitting in my chair across from him and I didn't move. And I just took the pictures, boom, boom, right, right one right after the other.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought you had told me.
Yeah, and I was not in the mirror at all. The chair is too low for me to reflect in the mirror. So that
So-
face is not me.
So for any of our audience out there, if you look at that, and you can blow it up on your own screens, let us write in the comments, give us an idea of what you think you're seeing. Now, you want to also give them the background with the Houdini or not?
At this point, I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll see.
It was my friend was visiting and he does not believe in ghosts or anything like that. And we were sitting there talking that night, and the next day I was looking at the pictures and that's when I caught this. So all I'm thinking is that one of my spirits in my house decided to show him, but he still doesn't believe it. He thinks it's a landscape.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could see the face. I can see the face.
But I was right on one thing. The bottom of that mirror is beveled. That's why it has that line through it.
Yes, I was just going to say that. It's a beveled mirror. Yeah.
Right. Honest to God, though, the presentation. I mean, what comes to my mind, by the way, I sort of see a horn and like a handkerchief or neckerchief thrown about the horn.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Oh,
I don't know if that's.
Heard that. It looks to me like a collar, but the black, I don't know what the black is all about.
Yeah. I mean, that's just what comes to my mind at front was like, I don't know, like a horn of some sort. And then like if you had thrown a handkerchief or a kerchief
over
over
the
the horn,
Yeah.
and it's sort of protruding, that's or like a tablecloth. That's that's sort of, I mean, when I first look at that, that's what I'm seeing. But then as you zoom in, there's a face there in the whole mix.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, so you did blow it up and zoom in just on that.
yeah.
It's weird.
That is weird.
It's one of the weirder ones I've seen. But I have
And you haven't changed the room about
no
picture.
no.
So
and
in other words, if that was something on the wall or back, we'd be seeing it in the mirror now, correct?
Yeah, there's nothing behind. Straight across is my wood stove, and the black hole that you might see in the picture, that's the pipe for the wood stove. Other than that, that's a completely blank wall.
Yeah, and again, I'm just wondering if there's some symbolism there that I'm not aware of. You never know.
And I'm wondering if Jenna doesn't have a problem with it, I can take this pic and post it on our Facebook page for people to look at and see what they think.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, everybody, after the show, I'll go ahead and post this up on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And let you guys.
I would blow it up and crop it so that they can see a better view of the
Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
But somebody was presenting themselves to him, and he still doesn't believe it.
I'm gonna do that.
It was cool, Rob. As we explained to the audience before we brought you on, we had Rob, the pet psychic, with us yesterday, and in his one of his books, he had a really neat photograph about a friend of his had lost his dog about a year earlier and had a couple other dogs now new. And anyhow, he took a picture of his new dogs, and there in the picture, and it's very clear, there's his old dog right there in the picture with the new dogs, but sort of above them and in the middle of them and stuff.
My dog Fred appears periodically, and about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting in the front room talking to the cat who loved him, and I said, I really miss Fred. Don't you miss Fred? And then right where he lays on the floor, you could see that he was there.
There. We brought up a couple things too, just how like human-based spirits tie around anniversaries of births, death, or events. Animal spirits do too. He was saying that quite often they appear. He also was saying, in his opinion, about 99% or 98%, the vast majority of all animal spirits cross over almost immediately and become spirit as opposed to ghost, because they're just so pure in nature and they are sort of love incarnate, and they just sort of. But you do encounter the occasional ghost cat or ghost that is really a ghost, although it's sort of rare. And he was explaining he's only encountered that a handful of times, and one of them, Dave, was that cat at the Harrison House. We were at the Harrison House in Columbus, Ohio, setting up for an investigation in our show, and he's telling us, mind you, he's not seeing it. He's telling us about the room we're in, and there's a cat over here, and it was a ghost cat. That's one of the ghost animals that he actually had encountered over the years. Oh yeah, that's good. That's a good cropping. They've got
my dog, I had him put down at the house here in the front room, and he didn't leave. He didn't leave. He used to when his cat, he had his own cat, and when 6 months after he passed, he went into liver failure, and I brought her home from the vet, and he did a full manifestation. Came over to her. He always used to take his nose and hit her under her chin, and he came over and did that to her. And then I started talking to him, and he realized I could see him, and he laid his head on my lap. But he came back for 2 days until she came.
Oh, wow.
He recovered. And then we had another cat that he did not like at all. Couldn't stand this cat. And one night we were all in bed, me and the cats, and all of a sudden I hear Fred's bark. And this was like a year. This was at least a year after. I hear his bark, and I look, and that cat, Emma, was not there. And all of a sudden she came flying in from the front room and flying in the bedroom. So, but he had a certain bark he'd do just to let her know that she wasn't welcome. So he's around. He's around.
Yeah. Now let me ask you something else. Bob said, maybe you can comment on that too. He said oftentimes when we'll hear our pets, whether it's a meowing of a cat or a bark of a dog, it might sound like it's in another room or something, but he said in reality they're right there with us. It's just that when you hear it, it seems you're hearing it from another place in the building or stuff. Is that pretty consistent with what you?
Yeah, all my animals when they pass, even if I take them to the vet and have to put them down, they come back for at least a couple of days. Like the last cat that I had to put down, which was the one Fred didn't like. She used to like to sit on the back of my chair in the front room, and I'd feel her jump up on the back of the chair and lay down with me for a few days. She did that, but They usually do.
Oh, that's interesting. I know. Well, you remember our Harvey Bow. He liked the bow tying on.
Yeah,
Oh
Harvey.
my God, Harvey was dying. He had diabetes, and we were pumping the fluid in him and trying to prolong his life. And he was almost heroic, and we were just having such a difficult time to set him down. And we were actually hoping he just passed in the night.
Hmm.
And she didn't. And oh my gosh, Yvonne and I, that was a miserable week or so till we finally had to, we said, well, we got to come back from church. And I said, we got to do this. Just can't. But he'd been around a couple times, and it just was. We had another dog at the time, Miss Layla, who only had 3 legs. She had lost a leg with an accident, and he protected her and watched over her. And even while he was dying, he would go on walks with her and sort of protect her and stuff. And I just couldn't believe it. I haven't experienced Layla back, but I'm sure that sometime I'll pick up on both of them. She left a pretty big hole in my heart too. It's just
Hard, really hard.
It is. And then he had a really neat story. And I'm probably not going to do it justice, but I'll try to encapsulate it. He said that a friend of his, this was right before COVID, right as COVID was getting ready to break out and stuff.
Mhm.
And he said he was working with a rescue group, and he was doing hellish hours. And in this rescue thing, there was a certain little dog that just really took a liking to him. And with COVID coming on, they knew it was going to be, they basically going to be closing down. And, there was an attempt to try to get all the animals vetted out to homes and stuff to be cared for, because, once the COVID had come out, things were pretty much going to close down. And he had established a bond with this, and he didn't adopt it because he said, with his hours and all that, he didn't think it would be right for the animal. He'd never be there and stuff like that. And unfortunately, I guess they were able to vet it out, but it didn't really go well. The dog basically died shortly afterwards, and he was devastated. And later, they were doing, I guess, some work where they were filming a bunch of the pets that they had adopted out and this and that, and they had little reels. And anyhow, as he's reviewing this on his computer, this dog that he had a special attachment to, it showed up in one of the frames on the reels on his computer. The weird thing is, when they went through the reels of that production, that dog wasn't on any of that. It wasn't there. It wasn't there on a frame. It just wasn't there. And if you viewed that content for that, call it a commercial or whatever, it was not in that commercial. If you viewed it on it, but if you viewed it on his and only his computer, a clip showed up of that dog in the computer. And it was almost like, I guess Rob sort of interpreted that it was the dog trying to ease his mind and, connect with him and things like that. But I said, that's because he was billing it as they can even get involved with social media. So never underestimate the power of spirit. I mean, it really is.
It's true.
It really is something.
So the next question is, how are you doing, and when are we going to be able to see you?
I'm doing much better. And that's what Jim and I were talking about that. I think June or July, it just depends. I'm open anytime now. But I'd like to give Jim some time with his son when he first gets there. I don't want to arrive at the same time.
Good.
But I'd have to come before August.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. we've got so much. We need your insight so much. Dave's house was built in the mid 1890s, and it's
Mhm.
got spirits in it. They've heard them talking.
I've encountered one. We were here about a week, and actually I was putting this desk together in this room, and from back in the kitchen area, I heard hello, and I'm thinking, I haven't even introduced myself to my neighbors. Which one of these assholes just walked in my house, you know? So I was like, hello, and I went around and walked through, and there's nobody there. And my middle daughter, Caitlin, comes downstairs, and I hear her TV upstairs. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking I must have heard her TV. And she
Mhm.
says, who are you talking to? So I'm not talking to anybody. She goes, I said, I just heard your TV. She goes, that wasn't my TV. I heard someone say hello, and then you answered them. I figured you were talking to somebody. Okay. So then come a few months later, Jim is over at the Historical Society, and they're table tipping. And what was the name of the spirit you come in contact with over there?
Lara.
Rella Aller.
Yeah.
And she tells them she knows all the spirits in my house, meaning there's multiple. I'm like,
And that line, because the homes were built in the same period.
speaking of which, Caitlin and I were making dinner today, and we're standing over by the stove, and here in the pantry, nobody else in the kitchen, just two of us. The whole stack of paper plates and parchment paper just falls out on the floor. And I just look back and I'm like, well, that wasn't very nice. Don't do that anymore, please.
So was it a male or female voice?
It was a male, I would say mid-20s.
Hmm.
I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Janet, before or not, but we didn't know about it till we got over here in Waynesboro. The whole town is built on top of an underground caverns that runs God knows how long. It runs clean up to South Mountain, many miles away, and there's subterranean lakes here. And over the years, whenever they've done like deep site excavation, they broke into the caverns. So like when they built the hospital, when they built the first Sheets gas, they broke into the cavern, and they had like reporters and locals would go down and, look in the cavern, in the formation. And then we found in some of the journals in like the 1840s, some of the local churches would actually go into some large rooms in the caverns in summer to have their services because it was cool. And, with torches and stuff to light it up. The Underground Railroad, there was a cavern with a name that the Underground Railroad used in the area, in the day. And even Main Street, like up and down the town, a lot of the homes right on Main Street, you go in the basement connects in with the cave. And it's just like guarded secret. Evidently, the fire department and the police station are well aware of these various entry and exit places. And about 8 years ago, just a couple blocks up from the Hoover House on the same side of the street, there's a Mexican restaurant. And in the basement of the Mexican restaurant, there's a street dividing that and a coin store on the other side. And evidently, the people in the Mexican restaurant got in the cave and broke into the basement of the coin store and stole all the coins. And it was the caves connecting up. So,
Now, are those man-made or are they?
No, these are natural. And then where a lot of them are sealed up now, there's still a lot open. Supposedly, one of the girls,
my daughter Caitlin's friend's mother apparently knows some of the entrances. So I told her she needs to give us locations of these entrances and times when the guards are on break so we can get in there and check these things out,
Oh, yeah, that would be a great place to investigate.
Yes,
but you can see where, between the water and the granite and everything
limestone.
else, we got a natural battery under the town.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that would be really fun to go in there. I'll bet you would.
Never knew that.
Yeah,
Interesting stuff.
I'm gonna have to get a hold of her and see if she can't pull some strings, or maybe Steve's on his own board. Maybe he can talk to somebody.
And evidently, as you go westward from town, not that many miles away, there's a small town in between Chambersburg and Waynesboro where there's actually a commercial cave, the one we all went in. And this was back in the 20s and 30s. They actually built concrete steps in it and had lighting. And it's 4,000 feet of passage.
Wow.
And it's got a stream in it. It's got formations. And it operated for some 20 plus years as a commercial cave known as Baker Caverns. And then there's a house built over the cave. So you go in this house, go in the basement, and the basement leads right into the cave. And you go down about 50, 60 feet over some stairs that were built there. And a family bought the whole thing, bought the land, the house, got the cave with it. And on special request now, they open it up and they take tours through it. So again, this is probably part of the same system that extends many miles west as we extend toward the more mountainous region where we're at. So it's probably a very extensive karst formation here.
And did you say something about they guard it?
I don't think they like post guards, but I think they have patrolled by the local police force. So, and I guess if you're caught in there without specific permission, you can get prosecuted. So don't do that.
Some of the large businesses in town over the many years, when they would go to expand their plants, they broke into caves and they would, like I guess workers at that plant could go in the cave. I mean, they did it as sort of like, an interest thing, and they would get in there. And there's a lot of passage. So I don't know that it's ever been thoroughly charted out by,
definitely not been mapped
by splunkers and stuff. So I don't know that they really know how much all of this connects.
How fun.
It's probably a liability thing. They don't want anybody to go in there and get lost, and then the town gets sued or something like that.
Right. So, Dave, have you researched your house at all?
I have not. I'm working 10-hour days Monday through Friday, and usually working 8 hours on Saturday. So I don't have a whole lot of time. Yeah, honestly, I've just been crushing it at work, but. I was hoping next time Jim has, because you do what, once a month, twice a month over there?
Yeah.
That maybe the next time you're over there, you can let me know, and I'll come over and see if I can't find anything in the Historical Society about it.
Yeah, I volunteer.
They might look it up for you.
Yeah. Supposedly, Ira and Eleanor Hoover, their spirits have told us that there are pictures of the Hoovers over in the Historic Society. And ultimately, they're working with us, as Nancy is, to try to find those pictures. They used to have a bunch of them in the public library, but they had some idiot got in there and got rid of a lot of the historical stuff. So, it's...
Yeah, because we want to get pictures of the family and have them blown up and framed and then display them in the Hoover House.
Yeah.
But
would be
cave system.
Yeah, there is documented evidence of using the caves here in the Underground Railroad. And of course, this area was very tied into the abolitionist group during that time.
Bailey will love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, she has not made contact. I've been trying to message her and see if she's okay. And the last time I talked to her, she was going to go up to Rochester with us for the Parafest. And when I contacted her after she had agreed to go to see if she knew what days we were going to be going and what time we would have to pick her up and all, nothing. I sent a message to Kathy the other day too, and haven't got a response. So
Well, I haven't heard from her either.
I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, that I know. They were, working on adjusting some of the treatment, and she found it was helping, but it certainly wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
And
But I will say this: kudos to her. I know she's been alcohol free. This December, I think, will be 2 years.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
kudos for that. That takes a lot of strength. Probably a lot of willpower and strength she didn't even know she had.
Yeah. No, she's a very strong woman.
Yeah.
Very strong.
I know we'd love to get her back.
Yeah. She hasn't been to the Hoover House. She hasn't seen my house.
Well, that was one of the main reasons I was gonna come out was to see her.
Well, we could definitely try riding over there in a group.
Yeah, bombard her. Oh, that would be great.
I mean, the worst that could happen is she could just stay in the house and refuse to come out, right?
Yeah.
Bob mentality.
Yeah.
Get some pitchforks.
Yeah.
Some torches.
And she really loves planting and working in the soil gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we're coming in that season where you don't have to worry about the frost now over here. So hopefully she can, exercise some of those problems doing that here shortly.
So
yeah, it's been real cold. Has it been real cold up until just about now at your place?
It really has. Yeah, it's been. This is really the first stretch of several days where we haven't been like at night in the 40s or something like that. We're finally, we're probably getting down in the 60s in the evening, but the days are getting close up to 80.
We're at about 80 today and yesterday, but before that, it's been 30 and below at night.
Yeah.
And windy and cold. Yeah.
We actually had to start to run our AC yesterday just because of humidity, and one of our units on the first floor blew up.
Oh no!
So we're into that early.
Haley's apparently outside. She posted a picture on Instagram 3 days ago, and it's at her outside. So she's actually leaving the house.
Garden.
What's that?
Planting her vegetable garden.
Yeah, she's got it. Looks like some kind of butterfly or moth on her hand, and so. Good. Another thing, I wanted to read this to you because once I get the address, we may need you to remote in for us.
Oh, okay.
A gentleman by the name of Shane Jones messaged our team page on Facebook and said, reaching out because we believe our son and or his room is haunted or possessed. My wife has documented happening since the 3rd week of April. That happened daily, almost every time we lay our son down to sleep. So I'm assuming he is an infant or a baby or a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
She records every time and has numerous videos. I'm hoping you guys are able to help in some way. We have tried sage and crystals and it didn't work. Well, if you don't know how to use them, it's not going to. So,
right.
Now it's to the point my wife caught a growl on the video last night, immediately followed by our son crying the hardest we've ever heard. I'm the skeptic of the family and try to debunk everything, but I'm starting to become a believer after I heard a bang on my bathroom door behind me. Go and open the door and no one is there. And my dogs aren't even in the room. My daughter witnessed the sound too as we both investigated and found no reasoning for it. I fear for my wife and son as they do not get sleep. Every night they are woken several times a night by this thing and always the same time between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So we've met.
Where do they live? I mean, not the exact address, but
it's Hagerstown, Maryland. So it's only about 15 minutes from us.
Yes.
Yeah, Hagerstown is really haunted.
Yeah.
Yes. So once I get that address, I may send it out to you and see if you can remote in for us.
Yeah, I would love to do that. Yeah.
we're hopeful that maybe this coming Friday evening or Saturday, we'll go over there with Holly and get an initial read and see, well, what our impressions are, what we pick up on. And then, of course, we'll have an address. So we'll probably contact you this upcoming weekend with the address to see if you can, pick up on anything there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping we can find some kind of natural reasoning for any, maybe the growl was grown in the floorboards, or a hum in some bad electrical outlets or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And actually, Jerry Swope and I, we have another Hagerstown address with stuff going on. We've been out and did the initial, and it's pretty active. There's this family owns a home right on the roadside. They live in a home in back. They won't even go in the place anymore. And I don't think it's very complicated. The outside, there was some children out there, and we think a long time ago, one of the children fell down in the cistern and died, and she's out there. And there's a lot of spirits in the house, but all overall, there's one guy up in the attic who's just really grumpy and thinks he's ruling the roost and controlling things. But it's so bad that neither the grandmother or the mother or the daughter, they won't go in the house.
Wow.
So, and that's over in Hagerstown area too.
Yeah. Hagerstown is very active. Isn't there a lot of river water?
Oh yeah.
That's right.
River's right there, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Antietam Creek runs through it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm in the mood to do a remote.
Good. Start to get the taste buds going.
Oh, I know. There's a place here. I don't know if I told you about it, and it's in Markleeville, which is just over the border in California, and it's called the Cutthroat Saloon, and it's a bar restaurant, and long before that it was they used the building in the winter because of the snow. They would put the bodies in the basement. So I need to get over there. I'm trying to get my girlfriend to go with me, and I have free reign of the place, but my girlfriend's managing it, so I'm gonna go over and check it out. There's these two young guys that did a video, and they were on Paranormal Caught on Camera, I think it was, recently with that.
Okay.
And they had a video in the basement of a woman. She was coming out the door, and I swear it's the woman upstairs, because they showed me, the woman who's the manager showed me pictures of the place upstairs where it's empty, and I'd look at the room and I go, there's a woman that sits in a chair by the window right here. There's children in the back. And I swear the woman in the basement was the one I see upstairs. And they say she doesn't go downstairs, but I swear it's her. So I'm looking forward to it, because I used to go, many, many, many years ago to the restaurant, and there was always, when she first started working there, and I said, the place is haunted. She goes, oh yeah. And I told her the place is downstairs, because upstairs is not open to the public. And she goes, yep. So, to be able to really be there with nobody else there, I'm looking forward to it.
Now,
I'll keep you posted.
in looking at ghost versus spirit, I'm just guessing that ghosts would be more confined or limited in the area they can inhabit or be present than spirit, or am I not? Is that just
spirit and ghost is the same to me?
Okay.
I usually, depending on who I'm talking to, I don't use ghost
right
much. No, they can go anywhere they want. If they don't move. But this is someone who is not who's not worked in the field at all. So for her, people come in there, and it's always interesting to me. They'll say, "Oh, this psychic came in, and it's someone I've never heard of," and I go, "Nope, that's not what's happening there."
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it, because it's been there since the Wild West, that building.
Wow.
So I know that there are people. There's a man, I'm sure, from that time period in there.
Now, had you ever been out to Tucson, Arizona, or been to Tucson?
Yeah, I've been to Tucson.
I remember Robbie's, actually, one of his books he wrote is all about the bird cage. It's called the Bird Cage Theater or something there. And I think they had like 7 or so people actually killed in gunfights or gun battles within. And he was just blown away by all the entities in that place. I mean, he said that even his partner, who's not really connected or that sensitive, he was even picking up on the spirits there, where they were that obvious. He was telling me if I ever had a chance to get to Tucson, that I definitely had to. You can evidently, you go there and for a fee, you sort of just sit in the theater, and then I guess they have a little presentation. But he said the spirits come out and start presenting along with the presentation. So I said, "Oh, that sounds good."
And it's a theater, so that's pretty. I don't know why theaters are haunted, but 99% of the time they are.
While I have it, just came to my mind. I want to mention a really neat recommendation Janet gave us a couple years back. This is right before all the COVID started. We were down in New Orleans area, early December that year. And while we're down there, she told us, she says, "Are you near Baton Rouge?" And I said, "Yeah, it's like in 90 minutes or something like that." And she said, "Oh, you got to get to the castle." And for those who aren't familiar, that was the old State House of Louisiana in the capital. They built with Huey Long, the controversial governor and would-be sort of dictator. He was a very complicated individual. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad, But anyhow, he created a new modern state house, which is in the city. But in the meantime, the original state house was did they call it the castle? Is the word?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they call it. Is the castle.
And it's this amazing structure. It's got this most phenomenal staircase, winding staircase with beautiful glass windows, the colored glass and all that, Tiffany. And anyhow, she told me go to the castle, and she said they have an exhibit there, and the exhibit was created by Disney. You know how if you go to Disneyland, they got the Haunted Mansion, and as you go through the ride, the ghosts are, they're near you and they interact and so forth. Well, anyhow, as you go, if you're ever in Baton Rouge, go to the castle and go to the exhibit. It's a couple bucks to catch the movie, but Disney built this where it gives you the history of the castle. And in the history of the castle, the way the presentation goes, there's a spirit of a girl who was like the daughter of the first.
She was the daughter.
And she takes you through and explains the history of it all to you. Well, exactly what Janet told me would happen happened. She said, go in there, and she said, you're going to meet the real young lady. And sure enough, as we're entering the room, and it was just our party, I felt a small hand in mine, and I knew who it was. And she actually sat there as we're watching this movie. So we're watching this movie where Disney technology is creating these ghosts And meanwhile, I've got the real thing there sitting next to me in this theater, and she's whispering in my ear, verifying the information that's coming forth. It was the most wild experience I had. It was fantastic. And the history, they have quite a bit of the history of the state of Louisiana. They do a very, I think, fair representation of Huey Long and pros and cons. And it's, if you're into any kind of history, it's well worth it. Most of all that is free. The only thing is a small little charge to catch the movie, and if you go there, by all means do so. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to have a personal tour by the young lady. But Janet told me to go there, and that would happen, and it had happened to you, correct?
Yeah, I was really lucky. I was there on a day, and where it was really quiet, and I was all by myself in the whole building. And I went back there, and there's a room. It's on the left, down the hall on the left there. There's a room that I think she has a diary in there. Her diary. There's a book. Her diary, I think, is in there. And in that room is where I met her. And I got to spend a lot of time with her. It was really great. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was the day we were there was real light. There were, I think there were, like four. Yeah, there were four in our party, and there may have only been another 4 or 5 people in the whole place outside of the, a couple of people who worked there, and they restored it. It had fallen into quite disrepair in the late 40s, early 50s. A fire had broke out and done damage. The fire was post-Civil War. Union soldiers occupied it
Right.
during the Civil War, and they stabled horses in it and all kinds of stuff. So after the Civil War, it's pretty well trashed. And later they raised funds and restored it, and it really is a gem. But yeah, I'll never forget. We got a lot more there than we did Myrtle's Mansion. Now, when we went to Myrtle's, the buses all rolled in, and I mean, it was crowded. But we did, Cleo came up to us, and she was really pleading her case, about that she had not intended to harm those children.
Yeah,
And,
she didn't mean to kill them.
No, and she presented in the mirror. Both Jenny and I could see her. And, but they really usher you through, with the big tours and stuff. It's not the experience it could have been. Everybody, I guess.
I was lucky. I got a private tour of it, and it was really luck, because I went out there and I wanted to take a tour of it, and I had to catch a plane, and there wasn't enough time for me to wait for the next tour. So the guide said, "I'll just take you through. I'll give you the tour." And so it was so nice. It was really nice. But I did meet Chloe. I have a picture of her actually in the window. I didn't pick up on the little kids, but Chloe was right there, and she walked me to my car when I left.
Wow. We got an EVP with her.
Did you?
In that entranceway, we got an EVP with her. And, but I didn't get any pictures, but, it's, like I said, those paddle wheels roll in off the river, and they come up there with the bus loads. So the grounds are really fast, and they pretty much limit you to about a 15-minute tour. They hustle you just through a small section.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. But even with that, it's interesting because they explain some of the furniture, and of course the shooting that occurred in the one room and stuff like that. And
Well, here's the question though: the tour is of the house, right?
well, it really is just of the lower quarters, because
Right.
the upper quarters they rent rooms. And,
Right. But
Yeah.
so I'm saying, could you just take the rest of the day and just kind of meander around the grounds?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would think
Yeah.
that there's a lot more activity out there than just in those 2 or 3 rooms
yeah.
you're allowed to go into.
Yeah, there's a lot of grounds you can walk around. Sure.
And I know that renting a room there is big money.
Yeah,
Like it's expensive.
Mhm.
But neat thing is that the workers there were very receptive and nice, and they have their own version of a bread pudding that they use croissants to make for the breading,
Mhm.
and they were giving out samples that day. And oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, I died and went to heaven. So Penny went and said, "Can I get another help of my brother?" So they gave us a big cup of it. And anyhow, they gave us the recipe.
Oh,
So
how
Penny
neat!
has brought that back, and she makes it now, and I think hers is even better than theirs. And it is. She made a big batch of it yesterday for the event. I'm on a keto diet, so I did abstain. But
Mm.
but it is wow. It is truly one of the best. Ton of butter.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's not nutritionally friendly, but it is delicious. But and they don't have it all the time. Just sometimes they'll have it. And we were really picking up. We did a couple of the plantations, and I didn't really pick up much in the main houses, but where the slave quarters were. You know, they had
Mhm.
reconstructed the original cabins are all long gone, but they had reconstructed them, and the ground is just respite with all the energies. And oh my God, it really is so damn depressing, because I think you had to be one.
Sam, I gotta go let a cat in the house.
Oh, okay. I think for the audience, you know, to have the big thing was the sugar cane, and that was year round, and they're boiling that crap. And you get into the hot summer months down in Louisiana with the heat and humidity, and you're boiling sugar cane. I don't know how the human body can endure that.
Yeah.
So I mean, of all, not that being a slave anywhere was great, but boy, being a slave in Louisiana on the sugar plantations, that had to be the bottom of the barrel. That was just, and even the kids were involved with that. I mean, that was the cash crop. Oh,
Okay, Abby.
She agrees.
yeah. Till we hear the cat.
She agrees.
Yeah, she's a brat. She got out. She ran out, I guess, when I went to change the water, and she was screaming like someone was killing her out there. So
Did you find the energies in New Orleans area just almost overwhelming, or is that just my inexperience?
No, the French Quarter was really intense.
Yeah.
Especially that house that I can never say the name of it.
Yeah. They don't even let you mill around the outside of that now.
Oh, really?
Lottery Mansion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a private residence.
They don't even let you mill around the outside. Because I wanted, you know, you were telling us if we could get over there that, you know, they wouldn't even let you be on the street to get around.
Every time I tried to take a picture of that, it would drain my batteries. I went through 4 sets of batteries.
We picked up a lot of energies on that Jackson Square, you know, right there where the French Quarter initiates and all that, and then the big church there. We got a lot of energies inside the church. But the thing that hit us was, and I don't know if you visited it post Katrina, but oh my gosh, the spirits there that were just, you know, they lost their lives during that Katrina mess. Oh my God, they're almost overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I was there after Katrina because I went with Tourism Cares, and we did some work repairing things. So yeah, it was. I wanted to go down to the 9th quarter, but I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah. All right, so
Well, we're gonna take our one mid-show commercial break, and then we'll come back and pick right up where we left off. Is
Okay.
everybody?
this is a good time to take a bathroom break, Jan.
Okay.
WLFE Digital Network is now on digital television. If you're into ghosts, Bigfoot, UFOs, and the creepy, then WLFE has a TV channel for you, Paranormal View. Watch all of your favorite WLFE video talk shows on one channel. Shows like Paratalk Radio, Step Into the Paranormal, Skeptical Help Bar, The Creepy Parlor, and more. Looking for something else? Do you support the LGBTQ plus community? WLFE has brought all of their LGBTQ shows like Inside the Drag Closet, Everything Yet Nothing, Across the Pond, and Rainbow Soul all into one place. A new TV channel called LGBTQ Friends. The third channel is Variety Unlimited. Here you'll find a wide variety of talk shows you know and love, like Just Cindy, Card Pulls and Coffee, Real Talk with Nom, The Bipolar DM, Meet the Author, and Movie Review 5. The best part of watching these shows is that they're all available to watch at one location, one website, WLFE-DB.com.
You are listening to WLFE-DBRadio.com, where our shows are your shows.
Listen to the WLFE-DB podcast, available on Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Check out shows like Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and Step Into the Paranormal. Now, on to your favorite podcast app.
This is Dominic Santasero with Real Talk with Dom. You are listening to WLFE-DBRadio.com, where our shows are your shows.
Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Oh, yeah. Life just got sweeter now that WLFE-DB has merchandise. Show your support by purchasing your t-shirts for WLFE, Paratalk Radio, Inside the Drag Closet, and more. But it doesn't stop there. T-shirts, coffee mugs, tanks, buttons, cloth bags, and more. Go to WLFE-DB.com. On the top bar, click on the merchandise tab and bam, there you go. You got merch. Support the shows. WLFE-DB.com.
You're listening to WLFE DB Radio. Now, back to our program.
Okay, you gotta move over a little bit now. Okay.
He'll bring us in just a second, hon. Here you go.
If that happens before I come back in, there's a thing on the side that's just a black screen.
Right?
Click on that and it'll bring the camera back.
Oh, okay. All right, there we go. I tell you, I'm so damn IT challenged, it ain't funny. Jeez. I guess
Chakra's joined us. Let's be
But
fair.
and then we still, hopefully, maybe by this time next year, we'll be back to some normalcy. And because I still owe Dave a trip out there
Yes.
to Tahoe and Carson City and all that. So I haven't forgot that. I hopefully get out there with him and stuff. I'm Really, we were talking earlier about the thyroid stuff, and I think I'm really follow up on that because I just gotta get myself back. This is just it's miserable to be feeling so compromised like this. But
Yeah.
Jan, for those who aren't familiar, good gosh, I met Janet a long time ago. We were out visiting the Carson City area, and she was working with the tourism trade out there at the time. And I'll never forget that. I met her, and she picked up right away that I guess had an interest in the supernatural and stuff. And so she keyed up, and so that night she goes, are you free this evening? And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, if you would like to join me at this house, I'll take you through. Yeah, at this house. And so she gave me the address, and I show up that evening. And my gosh, it's the Bliss Mansion in Carson City. And the Bliss Mansion, for those who aren't familiar, Bliss went out west with the Comstock load and the Silver Strike, and soon realized what a hard way of living that was. And then he also realized that he would probably gain a lot better by providing the wood for the miners to shore up their mines. And so he became quite the magnet for developing the lumber
That's
industry.
building the houses because there were no trees down in the valley because it's high desert. So they didn't have trees. So he provided all the wood for the houses and for the mines.
And so we, I mean, holy Moses. I don't know how many rooms, but it's just amazing. And the antiques and the furniture in the place. And so as we're first entering, the owners at that time had a large German Shepherd. And Janet was just checking to see if the dog was home or if the owners had taken the dog with them. So I'm recording as we enter, and she calls out to the dog. Well, here, when I go back and process my recorder, before she speaks, the spirits are basically saying that Janet's calling for the dog. And then you hear her, and it turned out the dog was not home. He had gone with the owners. But I said, wow, I'm still fascinated by that because it shows some precognizance part of spirits. That they're sort of aware of what we're doing or going to do before we actually do it. So that's sort of been an interesting side theme of mine over the years. And I've talked to a lot of other paranormal investigators to see if they found evidence of that same kind of interaction. You want to get here so you can answer the
Yeah, I can do
the flips. Hold on, we're going to flip seats here again.
And there we go. All right. That way I can see all the comments, answer questions, and that type of thing. I'm really excited about Friday, though, because it's just been so long since I've gotten out and done something. You know what I mean? I mean, we have our resident spirits of the Hoover House, and they're fantastic, and they never disappoint when it comes to communicating with the guests. But to go and do something that I haven't done in
new and
couple
original.
years.
And
it's new, obviously. So unfortunately, it's a private residence, so there won't be any live feeds. But that's going to come back sooner rather than later as well. I personally am going to be going back to Hinsdale, so I'm working right now on setting up a date for that with a group of friends of mine. Paranormal.
And what is this place?
Hinsdale, the Hinsdale House. It's in Hinsdale, New York. The land it's on was part of a large. It wasn't a reservation, but it was. Hold on for 1 second.
The birds.
Yes.
Going nuts again.
Okay. The land that this house is on was inhabited by a group of Native Americans. I don't remember.
I think it's part of the Iroquois Nation.
Okay. And from what we've been able to gather research wise, there was some kind of treaty between the white man and that Indian tribe as far as use of the land and that type of thing. And of course, as the settlers back in the day were very well known for, they went back on their word and kind of ran them off. So the spirits, at least on the outside in the property itself, are of Native American origin, and they are very angry. The Indian chief that is there is very, very, very powerful. Like, he may be the most powerful non-negative entity I've ever come across.
Is he a chief or a shaman? Lots of times they're both.
Well, the way it was described to me, because when we went there, Jim and I, it was supposed to be 4 of us, and the other 2 people had to back out at the last second. So it was just Jim and I, which was a mistake. The energies there are way too powerful for just us.
Mm.
And we did our live show there, and the whole time we're doing our live feed, people are seeing in the kitchen behind us a shadow figure walking back and forth. And they said, he's over on the right. And every time we'd look over on the right, the K2 would go off. Oh no, he's moved over to the left. We look on the left, and the REM pod would go off. So he was signaling both pieces of equipment exactly where people say he was. And now this is inside the house. And by the time we finished that 2-hour show, now this was late July, early August, and it's at the time we were on 8 to 10, so it's 10 p.m. at night, and it's still 90 plus degrees with high humidity. And just sitting there in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, it's just the sweat's just running off of me. And I look over, and Jim's going, and his t-shirt's shattering. And I'm like, well, whatever it was, it sucked him dry. He got under a blanket, fully like over his head, cocooned under this blanket with long pants, long shirt, and a windbreaker, and would not come out. I said, Jim, obviously something here is affecting you. We need to get you out of the house. I have to go into town to get some drinks and some snack food and whatever. Let's go. I can't. I'll freeze. He was concerned that he literally would physically freeze to death, like just freeze if he came out from under that blanket. I could not.
So there was a spirit standing right next to him then.
Oh, God.
So as I'm driving into town, I felt terrible leaving him there, but I had to go. So as I'm driving into town, I called Haley, and she remoted in. I said, I need you to remote in and see what has got him like this. And she said, I don't have to. I said, what do you mean you don't have to? She says, I can, in my mind, I can picture her sitting on her bed talking on the phone like this. She says, there's an Indian chief standing in the doorway to my room who was so solid, I almost called the cops. I thought someone had broken the house. Like, there's a person standing there. And so she's the one that told us that he was not trying to harm Jim. He was just trying to get his attention and kind of, I guess, coax him to his side of the dispute. So, yeah, very, very powerful. But I got back in about an hour. I got back to the house from town, shut up, in about an hour. And then it took another 45 minutes after that for him to come out from that cocoon.
Quiet
him.
Quiet.
Adam.
Walk here.
So we finally got him out after almost 2 hours, and we investigated for like 45 minutes, and he literally was just holding an instrument, just done, gone. So during the 70s, there was a family that lived there called the Dandies, and you can research it. They had activity going on while they were there, and it affected one of their children so much so that they had to perform an exorcism, and it was a failed exorcism. Now I don't know if they did this because they didn't know what else to do, or if someone recommended it. I personally didn't feel anything negative there, but then again, I don't feel a whole lot as it normally is anyway. So I slept on the couch where the child laid while they performed this exorcism, and felt fine. Now, when I went out to my truck during the night to get something or put something away or whatever, and you're alone, you definitely know that someone is there and they're watching you, especially from the wooded area, which is where a lot of the Native American spirits are heard and seen behind the house. And you can tell that they're watching you, and they're watching you intently because obviously I'm a white man. So it was very powerful. I want to go back because I didn't, I had 45 minutes. I didn't get enough time to investigate. Understandably so, Jim does not want to go back. So,
and I know he wasn't trying to hurt me. I don't have any doubt, but he didn't know his own power. They have a tree in back up a hill that's sort of a
it's called what is it called? Gifting tree or something like that.
Something like that. Where you
take gifts for the Native American spirits.
So I did a great effort. I climbed up that hill and we put some beef jerky up in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully they'd be aware that if I came back, that I intended to be friendly with them. But that it took me almost 10 days to recover from that day. That was rough.
And then also we have some friends that we met through the Hoover House that have now created and are running an investigation company. It's called Get Haunted Network. The guy who created it, one of the creators, one of the partners, this guy Rob, he used to work for a different company. We won't give the names because we don't put people's business out there. But anyway, he worked for this company for several years and did most of his time up at the Conjuring House. And something up there affected him so badly that while he was at home in his house, he was having thoughts of hurting himself and his family. And so he basically got out of that company and got out of the field altogether, and had this attachment just hanging over him. So he was invited by some mutual friends to the Hoover House, and he wasn't sure if he wanted to get back involved in that type of thing, but I guess they kind of talked him into it. And he came and he had a good time, and we did a table tipping session with him. And I think it's the first time we've ever had it happen. This negative entity tried to come in and affect him and everyone at the table. And so they had to break from the table. And then they gave it a few minutes, they got back on, and it felt completely different. And the spirit that came through the table when they got back on identified himself as Rob's guardian. And he said his name was Invictus. And apparently Invictus was so powerful that he, in so many words, said, that thing that was attacking you, you don't have to worry about it. It's gone. I got rid of it. So however, apparently Invictus is this ancient being of light that basically took this negative attachment, was just like, go away. You're gone. So, now that he's back in the field, he does places like Hillview Manor and some places like that. And Hillview is not that far from us. So I'd really like to get out there. And we said, well, how much are tickets? He said, no, after what you've done for me, you want to come, you just show up. You don't have to buy tickets. So I'd like to go and do that.
they've been able at where we all went, Janet and Haley, you and I, Penhurst. They've been actually, Jim Houston told me they're opening a couple of the buildings in Penhurst that were formerly closed. So they've knocked some of the old buildings down at Penhurst, but they've managed to salvage some others. So it's still, Penhurst is still sort of off the charts. That was a wild night.
Oh, that was something. I saw a
Okay.
that's old lady chocolate. There was a show, and recently I saw, and they went to Penhurst, and Michelle, I can't remember her last name. She's very well known. But they went in, and she got, and they're telling everybody now, and Michelle went in blindfolded and said basically the same thing, that King was not ever human. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that, because when I met King, he was, they called him King because it was short for King Kong.
Right.
They're very racist and mean to him.
Yeah,
And
that was the one down in the bottom of the main building we were in.
mhm.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, that place, third floor was,
Yeah.
oh my.
Yeah. I remember
Betty was getting infected up on that third floor too.
Yeah, I remember, when we all were near the Rockwell Tunnel, and Dave and I really weren't sensing the imminent danger. And then you and Haley just said, "We got to get out of here now." And so I said, "Well,
And I distinctly remember Jim and I looking at each other, and I was like, it's two psychics saying we should go. We probably should listen to them." He was like, "Yeah, it's probably the best choice."
yeah,
And
Yeah,
little
we
did
were-
know when we listened back to that audio,
wow,
they were plotting on up, man.
they certainly were.
That's it.
And that was
Michelle
kind of
Ranger.
creepy because they were coming down the tunnel. We're at the end of the tunnel. We couldn't get out from there. We had to go back past them, and they were coming to us, and it wasn't going to be good.
Right.
Yeah, I was, when I went back and was reviewing the audio and all that from them, like, holy crap.
Yeah.
We really made
they
a
were
good
planning
decision
on
there.
was definitely on the negative side.
Wow.
Jim and I also have on the books a free weekend at the Bel Air House because we had booked it and got a communique from Kristen a month or so later that she had actually double booked it. And so the other team that had booked the same weekend as we had never done it. So we forfeit and let them have it. So she said, well, I'll put you on the books for one on the house. So I get back there. I want to get back to Rolling Hills Asylum up in East Bethlehem, New York. I want to get back to Mansfield.
I'd love to go back to Mansfield. As scared as
we took you to Moundsville.
No way.
Didn't
no,
we?
I went to Mansfield.
Oh, no, it was Mansfield because
Mansfield.
George was with us.
Yeah,
That's
George.
right.
Yeah, her and George.
Yep. Because that's something was trying to spook him.
That was a pretty scary place too.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember I met you earlier in that evening, and you'd been over at this is Bernie. I'll be right back. Let me take this.
So yeah, those are some of the places I'd like to get back to. But like I said, Hillview Mansion is a place I've not been
Good.
to.
I'm
So I definitely want to try some new places.
Mhm.
I'm also trying to find some new places that are not in the spotlight, so to speak. Some
Mhm.
lesser known places,
Mhm.
which is why we're trying to open up some of the places in town here that have reported activity or that we've just been in for one reason or another and know there's activity, and trying to get those opened up. So as soon as the town does what it's supposed to do and gets the toll gate house set, so we can get so Pam and Steve can get the second Ghost Exchange store in there, then that's active as well. So we'll do some things in there too. Dog, you're gonna have to stop.
Now, does the toll house have another little house in back?
Yes, up on the hill. If you're looking at the toll gate house, it's up the hill and to the right, to your right. It's a one-room log cabin, it dates back to the 1700s, and it was used as their first school, their first church.
Is there a cemetery near it?
There is a cemetery behind it, and then stretches out to the left. And that's literally, if from where I'm at right now, if I go up to the corner, it's right across the street from me.
Okay.
So, and again, from what I'm told, from what I've gathered, there is an entrance to those caves on the backside of that cemetery. So I don't know, but I would certainly find it unbelievably cool if it was one of the crypts that you went into, above ground crypts that you went into that had a tunnel down to it. That would be cool as hell. So, but yeah, and when you get a chance to get out there, you've got to see my new house. So
I know. You'll have to send me the address so I can remote view it and see what I get there.
Okay, that would be fantastic. Do you have anything planned, like in your area that you?
The place out in Markleyville is definitely on the list. And then just the other day, I was talking to a friend. Right behind my house is, it's just all desert. And if you walk out about a quarter mile, half a mile up this hill, there's an Indian cemetery, an old Indian cemetery. And I just dawned on me the other day that I should go out there and check that out, because I am sure that there's stuff going on there.
Right. And see, that's the only thing that's one of the main issues I have as far as Hinsdale was I really don't know how to interact with any of the Native American energies. Like, it's not something I've done a lot of. And I don't want to try and interact with them and then find out the way that I'm doing it is insulting or degrading. And then things turn bad. You know what I mean? I want to come at it from a point of respect, but I don't know what is the proper way to show respect in that culture. You know?
Well, you definitely, I have a friend who's an elder with the tribe in Carson. And what we always did is when if I go to this cemetery, I bring a bottle of water and you do water. It's like an offering.
Okay.
And you just do a line of water in front and that. But you have to be very respectful. And especially at that cemetery, not a lot of people know it's there. And they're different than our cemeteries. They're very sacred land, and you have to be, I would never take ghost hunters up to that.
Right.
Because most of them have to have all their equipment and ask their, who's here and all of that. When I do something like that, I go and I'll just sit and watch and listen, and I won't bother them.
Yeah. Let them come to you, so to speak.
Yeah, I kind of suspect I'll see a lot of shadow people and things like that out there. But yeah, no, I won't go in there and go, is there someone here? When did you die? No, nothing like that. Nothing.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, I don't know a lot about their culture, but the one thing I do know is there was a lot of respect involved with it.
They're very, very private. They're very private. I have friends that live in the res, and one day I made the mistake because I didn't know. I was just driving through and I went, oh, so-and-so lives over here. I'll stop by and say hello to her. They wouldn't answer the door. They'd look right at me through the window, but they wouldn't because I didn't call first.
Right.
And they're very private. They're very, very private. And
It's almost like a protocol that must be followed.
absolutely, absolutely. And there's a lot of their culture that they don't share. It's really
Well, I mean, and with good reason,
Mhm. Absolutely.
It goes back to the earliest settlements of us
Mhm.
that they opened up parts of their culture that they normally wouldn't and were taking advantage of. So I
Mhm.
completely understand that side of it. I think one of the things that I would set out to do when it came to their culture is to hopefully make an impression where they would understand that not all of us, or not everyone who looks like this acted like that. You know what I mean? So that
Well, and
there are ones that they can trust.
they're still living it just like Black people are still living it with it. They're still living with the prejudice and that today. And so they're very spiritual, and their culture and their language, everything is kept very close to the vest in their group. Wonderful people. Wonderful.
Yeah, and I know the story that I heard from you and Jim about the steward school. What would
Mhm.
happen to those poor children when they use
Mhm.
their native language? That's ridiculous.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a saint by any stretch of the imagination. I've done my fair share of nasty
Hey,
things to
Jerry.
people,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I can't imagine having that much hatred towards a specific group of people that you would do something like that. You know what I mean?
It doesn't make sense to me. You're missing out on learning some really wonderful things and wonderful people.
Right. And I mean, imagine that, especially the early settlers, that the Native Americans were here before you got here. So
Mhm.
they could have, had you done things the right way and treated them the right way, you could have learned a lot of valuable information about the land you just came into before you got there.
Well,
Yeah.
when they did teach them a lot when they thought they could trust them, and then
Right.
yeah, man, man is very mean.
Yes. Yeah. As a species, we really are. Who was it? In Man of La Mancha, there's a line that Alonso Quijana becomes filled with rage at man's indignation towards man.
Mm.
So, but what I'd like to do is, as soon as you know when you're coming, get that information to us, because if this thing Friday evening turns up that they need a full blown investigation, I'd really like to be able to schedule it while you're in town.
Okay, I want to come pretty soon. I'm going to coordinate with Jim,
Right.
on what's a good time frame in that, but I have to make a decision and just do it and get out there, because
Then
things keep coming up and then you're going, oh no, I can't, no, I just have to do something definite. So him and I kind of preliminary talk today, and I'm just going to have to get a calendar, and we're just going to have to sit down and go, okay.
now, have you by chance promoted into the Hoover yet, or?
No, I haven't. I've watched, like, when you first got there and you did tours of it, but I've done a little bit, but not a lot. I mean, just very lightly.
Okay.
I know there's definitely an old lady there.
Yes. And it's funny because all these years that we've all been doing this, I think that's the first place that I've gone to. Like, there's been lots of places that have had positive light, love energies, but there's always that, except for that one room or the basement or
Mhm.
I think this is the first place I've gone into where every single energy in that house from top to bottom is a positive vibrational energy. Um, so that's why we always tell people when they're calling to or contacting us to schedule an investigation for their team or a group of people, whatever. We're like, look, just so you know, if you're looking for something that's going to scratch people and curse at you on audio, this ain't the place for you. Go to
No, and if you let them try to incite that, you'll get that energy there, and
right.
it'll really taint it. You don't want to.
No. We have such a respect factor mutually with Ira and Eleanor, two of the resident spirits who were the original owner. That that's one of the reasons when we do investigations there, one of us is always there.
Yeah.
Because that way we catch that. Look, I don't care if you've already paid, you're out. You're not going to come in here and disrespect our spirits like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
We don't allow that. We don't allow not antagonizing, but provoking. We don't allow that. We allow trigger objects, of course. Like the basement one time was a speakeasy, so it's very natural for us to take down shots of whiskey and use them as trigger objects. We've had a lot of success with that. But anybody going down there, hey, how are you, group of drunks? No, you can forget that.
It'll ruin it in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because they do things for TV and unfortunately, right now there's the one TV show that they're really getting into a lot of dark stuff because it makes it more sensational. And I hate to see people fall.
Negative energies bring ratings.
Yeah, which is really too bad.
Yeah, no, it's a damn shame that there isn't a show specifically for the type of stuff that we experience at a regular basis over there. Just positive, light.
There is one, actually. There is one. Kindred Spirits.
Oh, yeah, Adam and Amy. Yeah.
Yeah, they do a really good job. They do a really, really good job.
I know at one point we were in talks with them coming out to the Hoover House. I don't know if that's stagnated or what's going on, but I know that there was a preliminary discussion of them coming out there. So
I like both of them. They are very respectful.
Yes.
And I like how they
their approach is the right way. You know what I mean? So I just as it happens with a lot of people in this field, real life just kind of took over between me starting a new job last year. Well, this past August, so it'll be almost a year. It's coming August will be a year. And then, the move and everything like that. And then just moving everything to the Hoover House and all that. It was just a lot of stuff that prevented me from going and doing the places that I'm really interested in investigating. So,
COVID really threw a.
Yeah.
That made it really hard to do anything.
Yeah, it made it hard to go out of your house at all. And then as terrible a thing as it is to say, and I take it out of a place of love and respect. Some of the places that I'm interested in doing, Jim just does not have the physical energy to do anymore.
Right.
So I'm having a great debate as far as whether I am going to just keep the team and do what we do, and then kind of branch out on my own with friends of mine, like I said, like Paranormal Inc. and things like that. Or if at some point Jim wants to officially, quote unquote, retire from the field. And at that point, do I look at bringing in new members? Do I look at joining some other team? It's kind of a crossroads.
Well, I wouldn't. It'll just happen naturally.
Yeah. I mean, I God, I'd love to get him out to a few places because I know when he gets in some of these places, the spirits take care of him and his energy level goes so far up, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes he's just a Debbie Downer, you know?
He's a Debbie
Oh,
Downer.
I'm too old. I'm gonna die soon. Ah,
I know. I was
saying
even
that.
saying
Stop
that.
saying that.
I know.
You
Well,
know?
and his leg gives him a lot of trouble, so it's hard for him to be mobile into certain places. But
Yeah,
he can get in certain areas and park
yeah,
it. And
exactly. Now, if I can just get him off that table and get him back on that Phasma box for a while,
yeah, him and the table. Yeah.
seems that's all he's got. His hands left the keyboard and went to that wood and hasn't moved back yet. So,
Oh God.
and I miss doing my live feeds and investigations. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed doing that. I mean, when we were at Penhurst and we were in Emily's room, and we caught her talking about that pink cookie, and then you brought in that pink cookie. I think everybody, including the audience, like to shit their pants on that one. And how powerful she was, having 3 K2s, a REM pod, a ball that in the laser grid, all moving while she's talking to us on the Phasma box. I mean, that's a lot of energy to expend, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine how much energy. And that actually leads me to a good question. Now, let's get your opinion on it. Having that much energy, would you think that means that of all the people that go and investigate Penhurst, none of them spent time in her room, and she just had all that energy built up that she could expend it all at one time?
She was really excited to have the attention, because I think most people go to Penhurst to get scratched and scared and that, and they don't understand her,
Right.
and she was just, it was like we came and played with her, and that's what really
Yeah,
thrilled
it was like being there for all the time and finally having a visitor come and see just you.
her. Mm-hmm.
You know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for those of you who didn't see that investigation, we were live feeding at the time. We are in the main building. God, I can't remember the name of the building.
Start with an M.
Mayflower.
Mm-hmm.
And just a few rooms down from where our main room was, where we kept our equipment and our coats if we needed them, things like that, was a room that was a patient room. And we had gone past it a few times. And for some reason, every time we walked past it, I stopped and just kind of stared in there for a minute. And I was like, again, that's probably the one investigation we've been on where whatever sensitivities I have really picked up. I don't know why it was, because it happened down in the basement too with the guy who had the bad ankle. But something kept telling me we need to go and investigate in there. Something's begging us to come in there and interact.
Well, I saw her. I walked by once and I go, there's a young girl in that bed and there's a woman hovering over her.
Right.
And I walked by again and I go, I'm going in there. There's a girl in that bed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she was.
So we went in there, and it was a girl named Emily. I don't think we ever got her last name. And the woman was the nurse who I guess had been specifically assigned to her.
Mm-hmm.
And of all the stories you hear about Penhurst and the poor treatment and all that stuff, apparently this nurse was the exception, and she treated her really well and spent a lot of time with her. And this young Emily really took to this nurse. But she was so powerful. Like I said, she had 3 K2s on the bed, one at the head, one at the feet, and one in the middle. All of them spiked red. We had a REM pod on the desk on the other side of the room. That was going off. We had a green rubber bounce ball about yay big on the floor inside of a green laser grid, and it's moving back and forth. And Jim's running the Phasma box, and she's talking to us. And like I said, that is a whole weekend's haunted house of energy right there, all in one room in one session. And we were so proud of her, the things that she was doing for us, and so happy that we could communicate with her. Janet said, I'm going to go get her a cookie. So Janet left that room and walked back to our main room, that few rooms down, and you weren't going, what, a minute, if that?
Mm-mm.
And about 10 seconds before Janet walked back in that room, Emily came on the FASL box and said, "I like pink." And sure as shit, wouldn't you know it, in walks Janet, says, "Look, I got this pretty pink cookie." And all of us were like, oh.
Yeah.
And it kind of caught you off guard, because I don't know if you heard it originally and you were like, "What'd I do?" And we told you, you're like, "Oh my God."
Well, when I looked at the box of cookies and all that, I found that one had pink frosting and pink sprinkles. And I go, she would love pink.
Right.
And that's why I brought it in there. So that's, yeah.
Yeah. And we left it there for her. Unfortunately, I've been told that doing whatever those people do that either own and or run the events there, a lot of the toys that were in her room were taken out and moved somewhere else. So
Yeah, they put them in the basement, and I took some back and put them back in her room.
yeah, there's no need. I mean, again, it's not my property, so I can't tell these people what to do. But sometimes I wonder, like, what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, they did some sort of a ceremony or something with her stuff. Yeah.
Which doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
It's almost as if they wanted her to go so that all they could have was that negative, because that attracts.
I think they
more
were trying to
people.
conjure her up. I don't think they realized she was in that room.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't think they realized that. And like I said, most of them are looking for Chester the molester, and
Right, and that's my thing. Is it's almost as if they wanted to help her leave, so that all they had was that negative that's going to bring all the big names and the TV shows and all that type of stuff. As if they needed that any more than they have already had.
Yeah. Were you with us when we went outside and I saw the boy with he had cut his own hair. He was kind of in the trees down, and it took me a long time to figure it out, but his hair stuck out all over the place like this. And then I realized that what he did was he cut his own hair.
I think I was. Was that out near the slide and everything?
No, that was out by, what was that building?
I remember we took a walk down the opposite end.
Yeah, we went out the
woods, and there was a
went
building here, and a
straight out
building
that
here, and it had the archway over it, and we were underneath that archway. Because remember, I lit a cigarette, and something was smoking my cigarette. Was it down that way?
I think so. And there was a chair sitting out.
Yes.
Yeah. He was out there. He was really cute. He was probably about 6 years old. But he had quite the haircut.
Right, but the question that I would have to ask for that is, why do you let a 6-year-old have a pair of scissors? I mean, he could have really hurt himself. I mean,
Well,
luckily all he did was whack his hair up, but
yeah, they didn't have enough people to take care of them. There were many.
yeah,
And then all the
you
bad
know,
boys that they let move in there.
and that it all goes back to the same thing, though. It's some of those there were those workers there that purposefully mistreated them. But then there are also a lot of caring people there that were just overwhelmed. And, these states want to come in and, why are you treating people? Because you keep taking our money away. You're taking our money, and then you complain that we're not doing stuff. You can only minimize staff and funds so much before certain things have to go out the door. And you can't blame these people for that if you're the one taking their money away. So
True.
I remember still when I was younger and watched that one that Geraldo did on the one up in New York. What was the name of that? It was like the documentary that really broke his career. And there was a lot of media coverage that resulted from it. Let me try and.
Who did this?
Geraldo Rivera.
Oh. I don't know.
Willowbrook. That's what it was. It's called Willowbrook, The Last Great Disgrace. It's done in 1972, but I remember seeing it as a kid. If you get a chance, I would watch it. It was a fantastic thing. I mean, not because of what you saw, but because that he had done it and exposed all of this stuff.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
And there's a follow-up documentary that was done. It was called It's called Unforgotten 25 Years After Willowbrook, which is on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, I haven't seen that. I might watch that.
That's what they made, didn't they? Got the place closed down because of it. Yeah.
Yep. And it brought national attention to that type of stuff, and that's when places like Penhurst and Rolling Hills and things like that started getting more scrutiny on them because of that expose that he did. And like I said, it was a damn shame for the people that worked in these places that actually cared and were really working themselves sick to the point, working their hands and fingers to the bone to try and take care of these people, and their whole life comes crashing down because of those politicians and because of those people in power that were not giving them money, or they were getting the money and redirecting it, or whatever the case may be. And like I said, in that handful of employees who were purposefully just being unbelievably cruel to these poor people. It happened. Crownsville in Maryland was the same way. I watched a documentary on that too. It's just sad that people can treat other people that way, but they need to come to Jesus moment or something.
Yeah, they do. They do. That would be a good idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming towards the end of the show. I wanted to thank you for coming on such short notice. I'm glad you're available. The connection this time seems so much better.
Yeah, it is.
No storms, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what happened last time.
I don't know if there was a storm, or was it wintertime? Was it maybe snow or something, or rain or something like that?
I don't know. It did. I was sitting right next to the router and everything, so it shouldn't have, that it was just a bad connection.
So, all right. Well, either way, this one worked out great. Everybody loved seeing you again. I love seeing you again. I can't wait till you get a chance to get out here.
I know. I can't wait.
And you know how he is. You're going to have to be the one to be on him. Say, look, give me some dates,
Yeah, him and I are going to
go procrastinate, and then the next thing he'll know, really, I said that?
Yeah.
Oh, he is. So
bad. I'm just bad.
Yeah.
It'll be sometime June, early July, I think. That's what I'm thinking.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait. And until I see you, ma'am, you have a great day. You have a great week, and you be safe. And it'll be great to have you back with us for a while.
It would be wonderful. I can't wait.
All right. You have a good one. Thank you so much, Janet.
Okay.
Good night.
Night.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. That went a lot better the last time we had Janet on. It was spotty at best reception, so it worked out very well. I'm glad to hear that she's coming into town so we can physically go do some stuff. Summer's coming. I'm ready to get out. I know hopefully Jim is. Next weekend, we will be doing, or I should say this coming weekend, we do have a private residence that we'll be doing an initial walkthrough with to see if it warrants a full investigation. Holly's going to be in town and help us out with that. And I believe Steve's coming as well. But I know we got a few things coming up. I think there's a public investigation at James and Jess House of Goods. The antique store is coming up soon. Of course, the bash is coming at the end of August. And as soon as I get any dates set up for the return to Hinsdale with friends or any other places that I might be able to get myself into, I'll let you know, probably through the Facebook page. But until then, everybody have a safe week, have fun, and I will see you in 2 weeks.